This will probably be the little intro here.
What's that?
Woof. Oh.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to do that one.
Yeah.
Woof, woof, for double woof.
That's why we drink the brown drink.
No shit.
Yeah. This is a hard episode to do, man.
It is.
This is a really hard episode.
We were all smiles and
it's
giggles.
the momentum,
and,
yeah. You know, this is the first time in the infancy of this thing that we've done it after a loss, right?
Yeah. Well, a real loss because preseason loss,
right.
we weren't looking at that.
Outside the den, inside the barn, Motor City Pride. We've been waiting long. Mic check 1, 2, podcast booth tight. Been breaking down plays every Sunday night. From the den, we step to the bar, we roll. Analyzing film clips, how the story's told. Lions on the rise.
All right, welcome One Pride to episode 2 of the 2025 season of Outside the Den, Inside the Barn, the podcast for Lions fans by this week very sad Lions fans. My name is Jake. Once again, I'm joined with cousin Lyle right here and producer, owner, whatever, Josh of the barn right over there.
A la carte.
A la carte. Unfortunately, no Steve's crazy play of the game this week. Just spoil it, so please don't click off if you do.
He's in enemy territory.
We just lost half of our
He's out doing reconnaissance in Chicago in enemy territory, even though the game will be in Detroit. His drones, yeah.
Drones, yes.
I think that's a matter of national security. I don't think we're allowed to talk about that.
That's right. Shoot.
But we will be hearing from Breaking Brad later in the episode, so please stay tuned for that. So, I think I know the answer to this, guys. But, how are we doing after this weekend's game?
We played last weekend?
It's. I thought it was just a nightmare, but yeah. How about you, Lyle?
It's we've had some time to digest now, middle of the week. Just got to get to work.
Yeah, get to work, just as we're doing right now. And to kick off that work, we don't have a Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid of the week. Instead, we're drinking something brown,
To wash it down.
So, once again, guys, cheers to a disastrous week 1 and hopefully a much better week 2. So, drinking this undisclosed brown liquid inside our new Outside the Den, Inside the Barn whiskey cups, or glasses. So thank you, Josh, for that.
Regular glasses, yeah.
Glasses,
just
my
glasses.
bad. Sorry, I drink gin. So,
okay.
That we see a lot of highballs.
Can't mention that either, but
yeah. Wait, what?
Probably can't mention that in the podcast either.
Yeah, that's fine. Bleep it out.
Gin rummy,
yeah. I drink
Feel 'em out.
I drink the card game, right? Is it cards or is it like pegs? I'm trying to remember. I don't know. I'm also not 80 years old, so.
Not yet.
Not yet. You have 50 years to get there, Josh.
Or next week.
Yeah, true. Yeah, depends.
Depends on just how bad this weekend is.
Yeah.
All right. So, before we get into the game, we'll just quickly talk about our term of the week. This week, we're going to review the term garbage time. So, garbage time is something that a lot of football fans will be familiar with, but a lot of new football fans may not also be familiar with that. So, I can take garbage time unless one of you wants to give a pretty good I'll ask you guys for examples of garbage time. So garbage time is a time of the game where the game is essentially over. At this point, you see, the offense maybe slow down a little bit, maybe not throw the ball too much, probably, or even substitutes come in because the game is kind of assumed over. Towards the end of the game, we saw a lot of fight out of the Detroit Lions, but the lead was essentially insurmountable, especially with the new onside kickoff rule changes, which we could review in a future episode. So we saw 2 kind of main examples of success in garbage time. So a lot of times this success of a team, such as additional scores or maybe even defensive stats, are kind of viewed a little less impactful or impressive because it was done in garbage time, being that it didn't have an actual influence or effect on the outcome of the game. Josh, do you want to give an example of a garbage time defensive play from this week's game?
Yeah, everybody was talking about Parsons all week, the impact he had. And I'm sure he had impact, but, they showed him on the sidelines a lot, and the sack that he got at the end, really did not impact the full game. So it was a garbage time sack.
Yeah, I believe that was near the midway, probably in the first 50% of the fourth quarter, where the game was kind of towards its ending.
I thought it was in the last couple minutes.
It might have been.
I think it was earlier in the fourth. There was still. I mean, the game had pretty much been decided, but it was.
I think we started packing up the tables and stuff like that by then. So
it was just something for the Packer fans to just get really excited about. But as far as any kind of impact on the game, very minimal.
Yeah. How about, and Lyle, do you have an offensive example of a garbage time result?
So, if people kept watching right up almost to the very end there, they got a chance to see Isaac Tesla, our favorite third-round rookie wide receiver, make a fantastic catch, was able to heel tap his way inbounds. And in fact, it was called out of bounds at first, and the refs, as usual, blind, but couldn't see. I'll give him a little bit of credit on that one because it was an amazing catch, and I'm sure upon first blush they thought, okay, there's no way that this guy actually got his feet in bounds. Did the review, play stood or was reversed, and called a touchdown at that point. So, in terms of the game and what impact it had no impact. The Lions still lost by double digits at that point, but it gives Tesla a chance to get his first career NFL touchdown. He's got a ball that got collected thanks to Amon-Ra making sure that got collected for him, and it at least gave some fans, it didn't really do much for me, but it gave some fans a positive feeling. I'm sure Dan Campbell would tell you, garbage time, those are valuable reps for a rookie wide receiver kind of a thing. But in terms of what it means to the game, garbage time TD, baby.
Yeah, so, I mean, once again, we who stuck around, I know, Cousin Lyle, you had to get going because Cousin Lori did have to, your wife had to get home and rest up. She had a long weekend that weekend. But at least Josh and I were able to see it. And, it was a great catch. It could have been the best catch of the week if it wasn't for that DK Metcalf hot potato ricochet catch he somehow made in that Steelers Jets game. But, so, we've already talked a little bit about it, and I don't think we want to talk too much about it. But we do got to review this last weekend's game. Right, our favorite Detroit Lions unfortunately fell to fellow NFC North rival Green Bay, the Green Bay Packers, 27-13. Unfortunately, as much as I would love to hype up our Detroit Lions, I would not say that the score being a 2-possession game, it felt worse than that. And once again, because of that garbage time touchdown, it was really still a 3-possession game. With the Lions offense not really being able to do much. So I don't know if we want to start on offense or defense. Josh, I want to get your review of the game. You can pick either side of the ball, and Lyle can cover the other. What would you like? What are your takeaways from the game? What concerned you the most? Any bright spots you noticed? What did you think watching this? Because I know outside of us putting away stuff, we were still watching till the end. Yeah, as painful as it was.
Well, I mean, obviously, with our points only being 13, our offense did not click. Yeah. Could be a factor of not playing in the preseason, but the joint practices, we've covered that stuff before. But it seemed like, I don't know, we were playing fearful to lose, to use Dad's phrase. The creative play calling is not going to be there, like it was the last couple of years. I don't think. Surprise me, I'd be happy. But when you see the powerhouse skill position players that we have just not getting it done, you gotta what was it? And you review a couple of things, and Coach Dan's presser. What do you talk about? Missed assignments. Rookies, loud environment. That's stuff that you got to get over with. Obviously, there's that one out of the end zone that. Who was blocking who, just basically letting somebody right up the middle to stop Monty. So, that those things got to be fixed. I'm sure they're watching those plays and, moving on to the Chicago game, try to figure out what they can do. So if they can get those things, a little bit adjusted, let's get some yards. I mean, that was my biggest letdown and we talked about it a little earlier when we were walking is if it would have been a battle back and forth, a loss would have been okay. But it just wasn't. It was who is this team? And I don't want to use that unfortunate phrase, SOL, but that's what everything felt like it. And so, when we have the matchup that we've got coming up, let's hope that we can, move past that.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about a little bit how the Bears did, because now we have some film on the new Ben Johnson regime later on in the episode. But yeah, I think it'll give us a good chance to right the ship. Lyle, your takeaways from the game, because I'm assuming you at least you watched almost the entire game. You just missed the last little bit, but I think you saw the real takeaways outside of the garbage time ding that we were referencing.
Yeah. So, to take the defense side, again, what happened in this game is at the very beginning, the Lions, I believe, won the toss and deferred to the second half. Mm-hmm. So that they made the choice. At that point, you're going to go on defense. So the defense is out there, first series of the year, ready to set the tone, and the tone was tone deaf. It was the Packers came out, tried to establish, I think, a little bit of a run. Lions are stopping the run. Okay,
we're feeling good. Yeah.
Yeah, 3rd and 9. Oh, completion. They make it. Okay, 3rd and 10 set up. Oh, they completed it with 3rd and 6. Mm-hmm. I think that was the touchdown. Yeah. So you've got 3rd and longs. So there. And when you're looking at those plays, all of those plays, the defense knows they've got to throw it here. So they're going to be putting in their rush packages. And there was just no pressure. It was Love sitting back in the pocket, making a sandwich, and then flicking it out. And I mean, there were some on-point throws in that, but it was, when you have a clean pocket like that, I think Jared Goff can make those throws. I think just about any quarterback in the NFL, if you've got a pocket as clean as that.
Hendon Hooker might be able to make those throws.
Okay, we're going a little too far.
We might see that, based off what I read today.
Yeah, sure.
But that set the tone, and then the rest of the game, that's really what it was. Now, they had some stops in the middle there. They got strung together, a couple of 3-and-outs on Jordan Love, and then at the end they kind of petered out a little bit. They just weren't getting enough support, I think, on the offensive side of the field, and they wore down a little bit. Packers were able to kind of cap it off with that Josh Jacobs run in the late 3rd, early 4th quarter, whenever that happened.
Yeah,
and kind of seal the game at that point. But it really was about, okay, when it comes down to it, what impact did the defense have on the game? And you're not going to, if you look through the stats, and I'll talk about this a little bit later when we're going into the casino, you didn't see a lot of stats from the Lions defense there. So you don't make any impact plays on defense. Your offense struggles. Special teams was nothing special either, to be honest with you. And you get the result that we got there, which was really just kind of a thud on a season opener in which there was a lot of excitement. We had watched early games. We had, Josh out there cooking up a storm on steak tips. And, you get that first bathtub shot going.
Which, that, if we want to say other things that went wrong with that day, we didn't do the all grit flag. We didn't raise the flag.
Raise the flag, yep.
We didn't do the bathtub curse breaker before the game. I didn't wear my jersey until after the first quarter, I think.
Obviously, we should have played our starters in the preseason,
exactly.
too.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Completely left blindsided. I mean, we're out here. I was out here all morning.
Yeah, we had all morning to do it. We came underprepared.
Yeah, went to church, came home, got everything ready, and just kind of sit and relax. And before we knew it, it's like game time.
Yeah. Missed assignments all over the field.
Big time.
Amaze. Yeah. So I think you both said it, kind of all that could be said. A couple stats I just want to highlight. Jared Goff, I can't say he was the reason we lost this game. No. He threw a pick six, but he was running for his life quite a bit. I did see a statistic that he had over 3 full seconds to throw on average in the pocket, which, once again, a lot of times he didn't have that, but, he had a couple plays where it would have averaged out to 3 seconds, and that was one of the higher times in the pocket that anybody got in the entire league this weekend. But yeah, our running game, which is, I think something that made our team special the last couple of years behind our offensive line. I mean, Montgomery had 25 yards on 11 carries. Gibbs only got 9 on 19. That's a 2.3 average for Montgomery per rush. That's a 2.1 average for Jahmyr Gibbs per rush. Didn't think we would see that. Sam Laporta, 6 catches for 79 yards. I mean, he was the only one who was constantly open in the middle. relatively. St. Brown was very quiet, 4 for 45, didn't really come alive into the end of the game.
That one catch that he had that was pretty fantastic, though.
He did, yeah. But, that's something we would expect out of Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
Anything in his range, anything in that range is, it was kind of like Calvin Johnson, Calvin Johnson made catches, not to speak on the old days, but Calvin Johnson made catches that most players today cannot make. And, I would say every Lions fan kind of took it for granted before he retired. Gibbs had 10 catches for 31 yards. I mean, a lot of Jared Goff's,
did you guys hear that stat? 10 catches, that's the fewest yards on 10 catches in the history of
That's crazy,
the NFL.
Man. Yeah, they were just zeroed in on it. So, and then not, as Lyle said, not a lot from our defense. The only thing I want to really highlight from our defense, because I don't even want to talk about that called back potential pick six from Branch, is 0 tackles out of who we think could win Defensive Player of the Year, Aiden Hutchinson. And I know there was a lot of talk on why were we dropping Aiden Hutchinson back on third down. And not rushing the passer. I don't know how many times that happened, but it definitely happened more than once because people were noticing. I don't know why they would either. Michael Parsons really only came in on passing downs really until towards the end of the game, and it was clear as day that his only job was to get to Goff and cause havoc. I think that the Lions should take a rush or edge rusher of Hutchinson's caliber and just do the same. Mm-hmm. I'd be more comfortable with him purely rushing the passer and risk a trick play reverse to his side. I would still rather him just rush the passer. So
and if he gets home, that O-line's got to adjust for that.
Exactly.
And that's going to free somebody else up. So.
Exactly. So I will say one thing I was thinking about this game and things I've heard about in watching some of the press conferences and stuff, is that this defensive line or defensive scheme is really reliant on their interior defensive line to help provide pass rush, or if not provide a pass rush. I know Dan Campbell talked explicitly in a press conference following the game or the day after the game, talking about how, with edge rushers, you can always get up, there's always, you can collapse up the middle. And I'm like, it's very clear that this defense was really missing Aleem McNeil this week, and especially how they've been scheming and how they're building this team. They really missed Aleem McNeil.
Yeah, and to me, obviously, Aleem is at least 4 weeks away because he's on the injured or the PUP. Whatever that's called at this point.
Yeah.
So
physically unable to perform.
Right. So you've got basically DJ Reader and Tyleek Williams as your guys, and one is not really known as a pass rusher. He's more of an immovable object, run stuffer kind of a guy with a little bit of upside for pass rush. Then you got a rookie that's in his first game and is also still kind of feeling his way for how to be a pass rush. He's definitely more of a run stopper than a pass rusher, at least at this point in his career. So
that's what he was in college, and that was, I think, everyone's biggest takeaway is he was one of the very best run stuffers in college in arguably the best division of college football, or the best conference in Division I college football in the Big Ten, but not saying he had to pass rush a lot. Now, Ohio State had a great defense, and those sacks were coming from everyone else.
Right.
But,
I guess my concern there is that if they're expecting there to be middle pass rush, it's not from – I don't think it's really from the starters at this point. They did a great job stopping the run. I think that's a big part of it. But I don't think you're going to get that pass rush. And if you're going to substitute people into the middle here to try to get more of a pass rush, I don't see those players on our team right now. Onwuzurike and Pascal, I feel, are like those kinds of players. Again, we don't have them right now either, and we won't have Onwuzurike. Pascal, hopefully, again, in another few weeks. But I think it's going to be difficult for us to generate pass rush in the middle of the line as long as our main guys are essentially run stuffers at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's, we can talk a lot about it, and I was talking to Josh a lot about it, about this defensive end problem we have, but we'd be broken records at that point. So, last final thoughts on the game. It sucked, and it was very unfun to watch, and it was demoralizing. And I think that's all we can say about that.
Brad Kachik.
Oh. That was spooky. I didn't get it.
Isn't that the Breaking Bad?
You know, I haven't seen the show. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I thought it was. Hey, we got Breaking Brad on the line. Yeah, come on.
Hey.
Hey, there
There
you
he
are.
is.
There he is. Hey, Brad.
We're just
How's it going, guys?
well, we're just wrapping up, looking at our wounds from last week.
Post-mortem. Yep.
Yep. So, Brad, before we get to your Breaking Brad segment, do you want to just briefly give away one or two takeaways from the game from you this past week? Maybe something more on the optimistic side, if you have one.
Yeah, I sent you guys a text, and this game really reminds me of the Tampa Bay game of last year because, I think that they squeaked out a win with the Rams, but the offense did not look good, and then they didn't look good in the Tampa Bay game. You guys remember they went 1 of 7 in the red zone that game, and a couple of stats that look really familiar. Not all the stats look familiar, but a couple of stats look familiar were, one, they were 1 for 4 in the red zone in this game. Goff had 2 interceptions in the Tampa Bay game, 1 here. Gibbs had a decent yards per run, which is 6, but Montgomery only had 3 per run in that game. And then the real big stat that kind of is very, very similar is Gibbs had 7 catches for 22 yards in that game, while he had 10 catches for 30 yards in this game.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So if you just look at this, now granted, the Lions ended up almost doubling the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in yards that game, and that did not happen in the Green Bay. But also the Lions had a lot less possessions. I mean, they only had 8 possessions in the game, if you're not counting the kneel down at the end of the half. And then, but in the Tampa Bay game, I think they had like 11, 12, 13 or something like that.
Yeah.
Possessions. So you're gonna have more time to do yards and stuff. But I just remember at the end of that game, everyone was saying, "Oh, Ben Johnson's lost his mojo. They figured him out. The Lions aren't going to be as good this year. Even all this, and now you're hearing all the same stuff right now, and you have to put it in perspective, because we're Lions fans. We're not used to saying stuff like this, but the fact is, Green Bay's a good team, and Lambeau's a hard place to play. Well, that's the first loss in 4 games in Lambeau Field. It's the first NFC North loss in 9 games. I mean, we really expect them to win every NFC North game until Dan Campbell retires. I mean, they're good. I mean, this is supposed to be the best
there were
division.
some fans that wanted him to retire already.
Yeah.
We're going to reanimate him when the time comes.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying, though. I mean, this is this is the first NFC North loss in 9 games, and this is going to be their biggest opponent in the NFC North. And the NFC North is supposed to still be one of the best divisions, if not the best division in football. So people are saying the world is How about this stat? That you guys remember the NFC North championship game against the Niners?
NFC
That's the last time the Lions lost a road game.
Yeah.
That's the last time the Lions lost a road game is the NFC championship game 2 years ago. And here we are. Oh man, the offensive line ain't going to be there, and this ain't going to be there, and all that. And a couple things that I noticed when I rewatched the game is, one, Green Bay was going max protection, so I'm not so concerned about the defensive line getting to the quarterback because they were getting a lot of push, but literally they were blocking the tight end and the running back every single pass. And the concerning part about that is you had 5 to 6 guys, actually maybe 6 to at least 6 guys guarding 3 guys, and we couldn't guard them. We couldn't defend them. Right. So I think the more pushing issue isn't the defensive line; it's the secondary, which again we thought was all going to be really, really good. But again, it's one game. Give these guys time to gel. Sound like Terry Nutter was dealing with that groin injury before the game even started. Yeah. And that's what he finally took himself out. So maybe that had something to do with it. He did get a couple pass defenses. And then as far as the offensive line is concerned, they, they'll get that fixed. I think, there's, again, people are overreacting with this as well. But to give you an example, Jared Goff got sacked and almost a safety in the very next play, they ran up the middle with Montgomery. And if you looked at that replay, Ratledge went the wrong way. He was supposed to block a guy that was coming up the middle. Instead, he went and double teamed and went the wrong way. And so Montgomery stopped right in his tracks because the guy was unblocked. Had Ratledge blocked that guy, there would have been like a 15-yard wide open lane up the middle. Now, let's say something like that happens. Now you're like, okay, now our offensive line is good. And I think that I think those things are going to start happening with this Bears game. You'll see an improvement there, hopefully an improvement in Ravens. But for all the people that are like, oh, I still think the Lions are going to win the NFC North. I think the Packers are not as good as, hey, they look great. I'm not going to say they didn't. But, Love did almost throw 2 picks back-to-back. Mm-hmm. We just didn't capitalize.
Or we did. We got called back.
Yeah, the one end only dropped.
Yeah.
So, those were back-to-back plays. And so, it's a big overreaction that the Lions have dropped so far and the Packers have run up so far. I don't see that at all. I think it's just one game. I think, there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of excitement in Green Bay. You're in Green Bay, Parsons. You're trying to stick it to the Lions already. And, hey, I think it was a good wake-up call for Detroit because even like, hey, it's not even close to good enough. And I think they're going to right the ship. I think there's a good game for them to right the ship. They're going to have a home field advantage against Chicago. I think Chicago's got a lot of doubts in their mind in that game against Minnesota. And, Johnson's going to know Dan Campbell a little bit, but Dan Campbell's going to know Johnson. And so I see a good win here, and then that's hopefully that happens, and we're going to look at the Ravens game as, okay, let's test them again and see how they do.
Yeah, I think we might need to relabel this segment as the Brad the Therapist.
I was personally thinking Brightside Brad.
Brightside Brad.
Yeah, Brightside Brad. Yeah.
Always look on. Come on, Jake.
Bright side of Brad.
Yeah.
Think about it. Are you guys throwing in the towel already?
No,
no.
I feel much better after some of those stats you threw out there and some of the comparisons you made, Brad.
If I can wear my Victory Monday shirt, I'm happy. If I can't, the rest of the week sucks.
Yeah.
So
I'm the same way. And don't get me wrong, there's some things that we need to, be concerned about a little bit, but we cannot fathom to think that Dan Campbell can't get it corrected. He will get it corrected. We got one of the best offensive line coaches, maybe the best in the league. That Mahogany, I don't know what PFF rated him, but I didn't see that he made too many mistakes. I think a lot of times it was Ratledge.
PFF can be very not true.
Yeah.
I
think we are going to create a new graphic for you. We'll call it Brightside Brad. Do you
just
have
put his face in a
little sunshine,
like the Teletubby sunshine with the baby face? But yeah. So, Brad, thank you for your takeaways. Thank you for your encouragement. I think we have a lot of good energy going to our next segment. Which, if you'd like to stay on, Brad, you can be on the second. You can come enter Cousin Lyle's casino questions.
Ching 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 ching.
I was gonna do the
which one?
The applause one. Yeah, Cousin Lyle's casino.
I can add a Brad column here, no problem.
Yep. All right, so for Brad and viewers who may be tuning in for the first time, Cousin Lyle has a series of questions for us. He's gonna ask us a yes or no question. He's going to give us some context, and at the end of the season, we're going to tally it up and see how many of these were true, how many were we right or wrong, and so we'll do one by one. And so Cousin Lyle, take it away.
Yeah. So again, we did week 1 was kind of an overview of the year and some of the things that we're expecting. So we're going to have to wait on those going into week 2 and going forward here. These are going to be a little bit more game specific. So we're going to be able to see some instantaneous results once we get through the game here. So 4 questions on the board, and and I'm just going to go ahead and start it off here. Number one question this week, who will have more passing yards, Jared Goff or Caleb Williams? Now, in doing this, think about this. Week one, Jared Goff had 225 yards. We talked about 31 out of 39 attempts. So 225. Caleb Williams ended up with 210 yards on Monday night on a 21 for 35 performance. Now, Goff only averaged about 5.8 yards per attempt in what was, as I think we can all agree, was kind of a very dink and dunk performance. Green Bay really taking away the deep thirds of the field, the deep part of the field, so they were dinking and dunking their way down, but he did get to 225. Caleb on Monday night started 10 for 10 in week one, which means that for the rest of the game he was 11 for 25. And then, as it's been well documented, the Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer. So with that all as the backdrop, who's going to have more passing yards next week, Jared Goff or Caleb Williams? Jake, I'm going to go to you first. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think it's a pretty obvious answer. I think it's going to be Jared Goff this upcoming week. I do, first of all, think Caleb Williams will be the first 4,000-yard passer for the Chicago Bears this season. I have an inkling that it will happen. However, some serious noticeable injuries here for Chicago on this past Monday night's game against the Vikings. Their top corner, Jalen Johnson, out of that game with a groin injury. And as we're seeing it with our current cornerback 2, I would say DJ Reed's our cornerback 1. Groin injuries are hard to play through. They get agitated really easily. And there's a really good shot that Jalen Johnson will not be 100% going into that Sunday 1 p.m. game. TJ Edwards was also out for a hamstring injury. Once again, another thing that can be easily agitated. And I don't think that Caleb Williams is used to this Ben Johnson offense yet. He's got some really great weapons out there. DeAndre Swift, had a pretty decent game on Monday night. Pretty decent, right?
I mean,
Not
for
great.
DeAndre Swift, really.
Yeah, right. So, I was a pretty big Swift fan. I'm a
Swiftie?
Swiftie. I was a Swiftie at one point, one would say. But, no, I think it's Jared Goff.
All right, Josh, what do you think?
I'm going to go with Goff as well. Home, hopefully a silent crowd on offense. And I think some of those plays that we called in the first game will actually produce this time. And like you said, if their secondary is somewhat depleted, he's going to have those long bombs too.
All right. Brad, are you going to buck the trend, or are you going Goff as well?
I'm going to go Goff. The only reason I'd say Goff wouldn't, if he was playing against another quarterback, might tend to say no, because I think the Lions are really going to focus on running the ball in this game. I think they're going to really want to have a good game running the ball. I think that's going to be a huge emphasis on this game. But with that being said, I disagree with Jake. I do not think Caleb Williams is going to hit 4,000 yards this year. I mean, he's got 210 with 16 games left. I mean, I think he's going to average more around 200 yards, which gets him to like 3,400, which is far from 4,000. I don't see him pulling up 400-yard games to catch up. I just don't see that happening with him.
Keep in mind, Ben Johnson does like to call those little touch passes too. So even though
I'm just saying,
he only hands it off, essentially, if he's got playmakers, they will get the yardage.
And DJ Moore is
a
playmaker.
Yeah, but you guys keep picturing the Lions doing stuff like that. I'm not sure the Bears are ready to do stuff like that, just because they can't do the basic stuff. Kind of like, Dan Cable was talking about that, about the Lions. Like, he's like, there wasn't this and there wasn't that, as far as the shock factor trick plays in that first game for Detroit. Well, he's like, we got to do the bread and butter first. Yeah. And I don't think Caleb Williams is at a point where he's even doing the bread and butter stuff. But anyway, long story short, I think Goff will have the better game, but I do think it'll be a more emphasis on the run game than the pass game this game, just because they want to right that ship. And I'd say this, Goff, going back to the Packer game, I think he was just a little rusty too. I'm not saying he looked bad, but I don't think he took a lot of chances. And that's, I think he's going to look back at the game and say, I probably could have took a few more chances. the reason why Love was able to get a few balls downfield, because he took a few chances, because a few of those throws were tight. That first touchdown was super tight. There's a couple other throws down the field that, I mean, especially that big one. It was the 2-play drive, the first throw. I mean, that guy got crunched, kind of after he caught the ball by 2 guys. And those are just kind of, those are plays where you're kind of taking a few chances. And I think Goff kind of looked at his year last year and says, hey, if it's not there, I'm going to check it down and get the easy one and go on to the next play. And that was open so much that he never took any chances until it was kind of too late. But anyway, kind of a long answer there, but yeah, I'm going with Goff.
We're about ready to put a timer on some of your answers, I think.
So can somebody get the playoff music going here? Da, 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 da.
We know you're long-winded, but hey, let's see. Is Lyle going to make it a perfect?
Yeah, I'm going Goff as well, and it's really more about Caleb Williams at this point. Like you say, still getting integrated into a new offense. He's, on Monday night, he still seems to spring up with some of those kind of questionable throws that are just, his accuracy doesn't seem to be there. And I do think that the Bears' offensive line still has some time to. We talked about a lot about the Lions needing to gel. I think the Bears got a long way to go as well in getting their players on the same page and going. They had a lot of pre-snap penalties in addition to having some problems blocking. And again, Minnesota might be a big part of that as well. They've got a great pass rush. But I think that it's going to really be more about Caleb Williams having limited opportunities and taking advantage of those opportunities. And Goff's just going to be the steady as she goes, ship towards hopefully what's going to end up being a victory here. So, yeah, we're just going all Goff across the way here. Question 2, more sacks plus turnovers for the defense. Is it going to be the Bears or the Lions? Now, the Lions, in case we didn't highlight this enough, last week, 0 sacks, 0 turnovers. The dreaded double bagel on that. So that was you had 0 plus 0. That's a 0, guys. Mm-hmm. The Bears, meanwhile, they had some success. They had 3 sacks, and they had a turnover that was actually refer to a phrase from last week, pick 6.
Ding.
Mm-hmm. And then both teams, like I just highlighted there, do seem to have some offensive line issues. So I do think that there's going to be some opportunities for some impact defensive performances. So more sacks plus turnovers, Bears or Lions. Josh, we'll start with you.
I think the Lions, not just because I'm a homer, but because I still think that there's a lot of growing pains that the Bears are having over what the Lions are having. And, if Brad is going to be accurate in his prediction on Hutch, Hutch has got a game to catch up now. So,
All right, Brad, we'll go second with you.
Please keep your answers.
That's kind of a tough question because I could see it going both ways. So I'd almost say it'd be even because I think the Lions will still be things out. Hopefully there's not a turnover in there, but I could see Dolph getting sacked a couple times. And I do see Hutchinson finally getting through here as well as first sack or 2. Williams was the most sacked guy in the NFL last year. So in fact, it was like the 3rd most ever. Yeah. Right. It was like 68 sacks or something. So I think that but I kind of see it more even. I just think the Lions will take advantage of those moments more than the Bears will.
So your answer is
even.
Even. You're getting it right on the nose.
Going for a push.
Steven. Nice.
Going for a push.
I did not anticipate the even call, but it certainly can make some sense there. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, so I'm going to hot take here, and also to cause some drama here and make Lyle the deciding vote. I'm going to say the Bears because I do think the Lions have to figure out their pass rush. And I do think both teams are going to turn the ball over at least once. I see it happening. Just because the Bears get 3 sacks, the Lions 2 doesn't mean the Lions lose that game. So I just think that right now the interior was so atrocious that there's a lot that the Bears could exploit. I mean, they still have some pretty good players on that defense. Montez Sweat's pretty good. I think I've talked to Brad about Montez Sweat. I don't think Brad's the biggest fan of him, but I think Montez Sweat's kind of a stud. So I'm just going to go with Bears and give the defining call. Who gets 2 votes, Lyle?
Oh man, no, I didn't expect there to be pressure on me at this point, but here
Didn't
we
think
are.
there'd be 3 options, huh?
Yeah, well, and I mean there are 3 options. We got Bears, we got Lions, we got even. So now I have to pick one of those 3. I don't even think there's a 4th one there for me to have.
Game
at
gets
this point,
canceled.
you know? Maybe Steve's crazy play could come up with something. I don't
he'd
know.
figure it out.
But yeah, I can see good thing. You'd think, okay, well, Caleb Williams is more mobile. He's able to move out of the pocket. He had a few good runs on Monday night, so you think, okay, well, he's going to be able to avoid the sacks. But like you said, he was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL last year. So
I don't think it was close either.
Yeah, there's
and that that's just the thought process going through his reads, stuff like that. And now he's got the Ben Johnson alchemy offense he's got to figure out. So that's even more pressure on him.
A lot of timing, a lot of route recognition, that kind of a thing. So there's that. There's Goff not being the mobile quarterback. So if you do get him anywhere near him, you're going to be able to sack him a lot of times, especially if he's going to want to be careful with that ball. I think the deciding factor here is going to be the home field crowd. It's going to be the fact that the Lions fans are going to be, crazy and ready to give their team all the support that they can handle to try to get this Week 2 win. That's going to be a very important win. I think it's going to throw off a lot of things that are already maybe a little bit off for the Bears. So I am going to go Lions. Lions take it 2-1-1 on that one.
And it's a 1:00 game, so not everybody is completely out of it. They're going to be pretty fired up. So tailgate's a start, but
I saw some videos of people that were just blotto at the stadium, and then there's one guy in Cincinnati or Cleveland. Was it in Cincinnati or Cleveland?
I thought it was in Cleveland, but
wow. All right, let's move on. Number 3, our favorite 3rd round wide receiver, Isaac Mayotron Tesla. Over under 2.5 catches in this game. Now, one of the few highlights that we've already brought up was Coleslaw's one-handed grab and heel tap for the touchdown. Dan Campbell has indicated in his post-game presser that Tesla has earned a bigger role, and that as long as he doesn't have another illness for this week, that get more reps and more practice, so he's going to have a bigger role here. And the Bears D, they were actually shutting down the pass pretty good. Now, was that effect of J.J. McCarthy just getting his feet wet or whatever? But they were shutting things down until the 4th quarter, when all of a sudden the floodgates opened a little bit, and they went full Bears, as I would like to call it. So Isaac Tesla, is he going to get a bigger role and get over or under 2.5 catches in this game, meaning he would have to get at least 3 catches to be over, 2 or 1 or 0 would be under. Brad, let's start with you. What do you think?
I'm going to go with 3 catches for him, and I want to point out too that
the over.
I predicted last game that he would get 2 touchdowns. I actually said 200 yards at start, and then I changed it to 2 touchdowns to be like Kenny Galladay. He got the 1 touchdown, but what I didn't anticipate is him only playing 3 snaps. Yeah. He's obviously going to play more than that, and I think that's going to be huge for Detroit too. As much as I love Khalif Raymond, to have a big body receiver out there to go along with Williams, St. Brown, and Laporta, I think will help Goff. In a spot where maybe all of a sudden he's feeling pressure, he can kind of throw it up, and obviously this guy can catch it when you throw it up if from that last. So I'm gonna say he gets the 3 catches, and I don't know, we'll say 50 yards. Nice.
All right, Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, so I don't want to talk too much on this because there's an upcoming segment. I would like to highlight this a little bit more. I would have said easily the under if it wasn't for that last touchdown touch or grab at the end of the game. So I would also like that number 3. So I do like, I will agree with Brad on almost everything there, and I will say 3 catches as well. I do expect a little less yards unless it does go to a bomb, but I do think that I expect a couple over the middle, maybe a first down here or there, but I like the number 3. So I would say yes.
All right, so we've got 2 overs. Josh, are you going to be the bummer, or where are you at?
Yeah, I'm going to be the bummer, and I think it has mostly to do with snap count. I don't know how much more he's going to get this time, but he'll be a good distraction if he is out there more. But you still have Laporta to feed, you have J-Mo to feed, you have Amon-Ra to feed, so I think he'll be a good distraction. He catches, I would say 2 targets, might be around 4 or 5, and it's not necessarily drops, but just he's in the vicinity. Yeah. Not great pass blocking or batting them down or stuff like that, but they'll be contested. Yeah. So.
All right, so we got an under for Josh, and I am going to make it 50-50. I'm also going to say under on this one. I do believe that they are still going to be easing him into the offense. I think there's going to be a lot of focus on some of the main players in this offense, Amon-Ra, J-Mo, who didn't get, I think, their share that they normally get, that they're going to be focusing on to try to get loose and get ready for this game. So I think that you will see definitely number 18 out there a few more times than you did just in garbage time of the Packer game. But I do think that the odds are he's going to get 2 or less catches in this game. So we've got a 50-50 split on that one. Last question relates a little bit outside of we're going out multi-sport here.
Oh, so a literal curveball, not to tease it.
That's right. Who scores more? The Lions' first point half score versus the Tigers' weekend road trip runs. So to explain this a little bit more, the Tigers, as we know, are trying to clinch the AL Central title and a top seed for the playoffs. They are on the road on Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Miami to take on the Marlins, who are floundering through another losing season, which they seem to have as long as Jim Leland is not their baseball manager over there. And one of the great trades of all time was getting Miguel Cabrera from the Marlins, and do you remember which year that was in?
That was 2007?
Correctamundo, December 4th, 2007.
Did you cheat like I did and read it? No, you looked it up?
No, it's not looked up. That is the schedule because I was looking up the runs.
So they are. So what it is again? The Lions are whatever their first half score is. So if they say they get 10 points, that's 10 versus the Tigers. If they score 4, 4, and 3, then they've got 11 runs. So that you would take the Tigers in that. Who do you think? What do you think scores more? The Lions in the first half of this game against the Bears, or the Tigers over a 3-game series on the road in Miami? We are going to go back to Jacob and have him choose first.
I'm going to say the Detroit Tigers. They're playing with a lot of urgency right now. As we're recording this on Wednesday, September 10th, they are currently in the bottom of the first against the New York Yankees in New York.
Boo, Yankees.
So it's 0-0 at the time of this recording as I'm reading this out. But however, the Tigers last night scored 12 runs. The night before that, on September 7th, they scored 4, then 6, and I'm just kind of going backwards, 5. They're scoring quite a bit of runs in these games. Could be more, but not bad run results. Not a ton of wins there, but a handful. Marlins are a bad team. It'll be warm weather, so the players should be pretty loose. And the Lions played 2 pretty rough games last season to start the season offensively. I do suspect that'll kind of keep going, but I do expect, similar to this Monday night game with the Vikings, how they caught fire kind of in the end. I do think Campbell is a good enough coach, and I do think I do have faith in Morton and Shep to make some good adjustments at the half to rectify that. So I will say the Tigers are going to score more in this weekend stretch.
All right. Good points all there. Josh, what do you think?
Well, it's hard to say I'm a homer and not be able to vote for either one, but because I think I'm a little bit more of a Lions homer than I am a Tigers homer.
Yeah,
I would say Lions.
Hell yeah.
Nice. Brad, you want to go ahead and pick even again, or what do you think?
That'd be crazy.
I almost did, Lyle, but
both score 30.
Lions just because I do believe they'll get off to a good start in the Bear game. I'm picturing them scoring about 17 in the first half, and all it'll take from the Tigers is for them to have one off game for that not to, because otherwise then you're looking at some pretty high scoring other 2 games. So I'm going to say the Lions.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. There's definitely some good reasoning in there. Obviously, if you get a couple of touchdowns in a first half, I mean, it's very difficult unless you're having 9-run innings like they did last night.
That was crazy.
For the Tigers to kind of catch that kind of score. So I am going to go with the Tigers, though. I do think that they are batting a little bit. They're scoring a few more runs than they did when they went through that July lull. Like you said, they're playing, Jake. They're playing with some urgency. They can see that magic number dwindling down to single digits now coming up if they win tonight, or if I think it's the Guardians are back in second place now.
I hate Cleveland.
So yeah, and I do think that the Lions still have some things to work out, and they'll probably be playing a little bit conservative until they can feel like they've got the scheme in place to be able to open it up a little bit more. So I'm going to go with the Tigers there. So we've got 2 Lions, 2 Tigers, even split on that one. And that, folks, is Cousin Lyle's Casino for this week.
Yeah, Cousin Lyle's Casino. Applause. Lyle applauses himself. Yeah. Good work. All right, thank you, Cousin Lyle. I cannot wait to look at this next week and see how we did. But yeah, so we talked about the previous game, went over some other fun stuff, and let's get into this upcoming game. We got a matchup back in Ford Field, back at home against the Chicago Bears at 1 p.m. The Lions, according to ESPN bets, open as a 6.5-point favorite. Which they
increased it. That's got to have gone up.
Yeah, it was 4.5 yesterday.
So there might be some, once again, I'm not really on Chicago sports Twitter. I could talk to my buddy. He was unavailable tonight for to call in, but I know he'll be interested in calling in for the second game of the season against the Bears near the end of the season. But I'll have to check with them to see if there's some major injuries out there. But yeah, no, so they're saying that they're pretty confident in the Lions at home. Obviously, they're saying, every home team gets about 3 points, give or take 2.5 to 3 points. But pretty confident that the home field advantage, as well as the Lions just being, should be the better team, right, is a favorite. They do expect it to be a slightly lower scoring game. I mean, that's really just based off of how kind of dismal the offense is played, but do expect a jump in that. And, the money line between the Lions and the Packers, which just means how much, what are the odds of them just winning the game, even by a point, is a significantly bigger gap. The Lions are at a minus 280 to the Bears 230. The Lions were, I think, a plus. It was like a minus 110 to win. Both of them were minuses. It was crazy.
They were very tight on the Packers game until we saw how that played out.
Exactly. So, I guess, so Brad, I will let you start this off. Obviously anybody watching can always go watch NFL Network, go watch ESPN, go listen to their favorite sports podcast that isn't us, to hear every single breakdown. But I want you to pick and highlight a specific matchup, whether it's position groups or player versus player or coach v coach. What's a matchup you'd like to highlight for this upcoming game against Chicago?
I guess if I had to pick one, I would say the offense for the Bears versus the defense on the Lions. And
kind of broad. I like it though.
Well, I mean, and what I'm specifically talking about is, hey, Ben Johnson, let's see what his offense is going to do against our defense. Can he fool our defense? You got to think that there was times where Ben Johnson was like, okay, let's run this trick play. Yeah, they always do this. They always do that. He knows the tendencies, and he's like, okay, this always worked in practice. Let's try it in the game. And I think there's going to be a play like that. I don't know if it's going to be a trick play, but there's going to be a play that gets him a big touchdown or a big yardage or something like that, because he's like, okay, I know this always worked in practice. I think something like that's going to happen. But with that being said, I also think, like the defense, there's a lot of doubts for them. But I think they did turn things around quite a bit in that first game. I mean, if you think about it, the first 3 drives were all, touchdown, field goal, touchdown. After that, the only scoring they had was 1 field goal and a touchdown drive that was only like 35 yards, because the Lions went on 4th down, didn't get it, and gave them great field position. That's the only time they scored after that, and in those last 5 drives. There's a lot of punts in there. So I think the defense is already figuring things out. I think they've already kind of taken a step after those first 3 drives of the game, and I think they're going to be ready to really show their stuff again against Ben Johnson, who they're familiar with too.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Brad. Josh, do you need a second, or are you ready to present your matchup that you have fresh in your mind?
It's going to be OD line.
O-line, defense.
Whoever the stronger one is.
Yeah. So, I think, once again, the Bears have, some really good pieces on that defense, obviously going into this game a little hurt or recovering from injury. But, yeah, just the offensive line just can't play like that again if we're going to want to win a football game. So I agree with that. How about you, Lyle?
Yeah, I think, to get a little more specific, like we say, that the offensive interior line there versus the defensive tackles. Now, one of the players that I did notice when I was watching Monday night against Minnesota is for the Bears. I was trying to look up his name real quick, couldn't find it. Ode Adengbo, something along those lines.
Passingo?
Yeah, no, it
different
starts
guy?
with an O.
Okay.
He had some pressure in there, and he was making life a little bit miserable for J.J. McCarthy, and I do think that they have some strength up the middle that can cause some problems for the Lions. So I am interested to see, Dan Campbell talked about, let's make sure that we maybe simplify things a little bit, because those missed assignments might have been them putting too much on the plate of these guys, these players that are a little bit less experienced, and then you had Glasgow trying to do what he could in a new position that he hadn't played really for the last couple of years, except in a spot start here and there. What can we do? Can we make it a little simpler for them so that they can move forward, and then the Bears make sure that they don't get that penetration, that they don't get that opportunity to, not necessarily always just sack Jared Goff, but even when you get him under pressure and he has nowhere to go to, then, they'll usually cause them to dump it off or try to he wants to make sure that he's not going to turn it over, really stall the drive out by doing that. So I'm going to be very interested to see what the middle of that line looks like with a week in and them having an opportunity to try to correct some of those MAs that they had.
Yeah. So I'm just going to pick something. Obviously, there's a lot we could talk about. And Lyle, you said a lot there. Can you just remind me really quick who your matchup was?
It's really the defensive tackles of the Bears versus the interior offensive line.
All right. So we talked kind of broadly, and I'm going to talk about Ben Johnson, current Chicago Bears head coach, former Lions offensive coordinator against former defensive assistant, now defensive coordinator for the Lions, Kelvin Shepherd. Ben Johnson is obviously one of the best offensive minds in football. Obviously led a historic, the best offensive football last year, and scored a lot of points, right? He's the offensive play caller. It's his schemes. He's running him into the ground. But you have Kelvin Shepherd, right? Fan favorite, barn favorite, player favorite coach, right? Players respect, love him. And these guys have been going against each other for years. Now, was Kelvin Shepherd the play caller while Ben Johnson was going against his defense? No. But he was there with Aaron Glenn. He was alongside Aaron Glenn, now New York Jets head coach. And I do think that that's going to be quite a battle right there as the opposing play callers, because nobody should know the other better than Ben Johnson and Kelvin Shepherd. How's that going to turn out? We're going to have to see. But I do think that the Lions offense is just better than the Bears offense. But can the Lions defense play up to its standard, right? I do not expect DeAndre Swift to have a good game. I mean, once again, Josh Jacobs really didn't even have a good game. He had a couple nice runs, but I mean, his longest run up until his 9-yard rush was 4 or something like that, and not even that. So I'm not too worried about it. They picked up Colston Loveland out of the University of Michigan, so now they have two pretty solid tight end set, which I'm personally a Cole Kmet fan. I think he's a really underrated tight end in the league. And then two very good.
They really had zero impact on the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Night, which was surprising.
But there are weapons there, and it is surprising because Ben Johnson loves his two tight end sets.
Absolutely.
Which is why they used a first round pick on a top 2 tight end in the draft. But I would have still took Tyler Warren, but that's just me, not just because of the name. At the end of the day, what is this battle going to look like? Because you have two, young minds going against one another. I think most people would, especially around the league, would favor Ben Johnson over Kelvin Shepherd. Ben Johnson has been an offensive coordinator. He's been the one making decisions. But I do think if anybody can do it, I think Shep could figure a way out. So what do you think of that, Lyle?
Yeah, I just think, Shepard has been the one that's been groomed for this position, so I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be too big for him at this point. I think he's ready for this, and it is going to be interesting to see, two people that really know a lot about each other just from growing up over there. That is an interesting dynamic, because at first you want to think like, oh, well, Ben Johnson knows everything about this defense because it's basically the same one that was under Aaron Glenn, so he's going to know how to exploit it. He's going to know how to do that. But when you got the other side, you've got not only Kelvin Shepard, but you've got Dan Campbell. You've got the other coaches, that are already well versed in kind of what Ben Johnson does, and what and how to fluster maybe some of the things that he likes to do, and with a young quarterback that's still learning the system there. So it is I think for a week 2 matchup. It is just about as interesting as it's going to get, I think, for a week 2 matchup to have, those dynamics going against each other, especially that Shep versus Johnson battle, chess match, if you will.
Yeah, it's kind of nerve-wracking to think about. I was really hoping we could be 1. I mean, I know I predicted the Lions to lose to the Packers. But
did anybody see that? There was 12 people here and 11.
I don't think the board ever got posted. I was hoping I'd be the only one, but I only went off my preseason prediction. But yeah, I was really hoping to be 1-0 in the NFC North and in the season going into this game, but puts a little bit more pressure because you don't want to drop 2 division games in a row, and I do have a lot of faith that the Lions can do it. I was kind of hoping the Bears would win on Monday night, so that was a hot take I had, where I would rather the Bears get a very big head and get very cocky going into this Detroit game.
Maybe come in wearing ski masks or something
like exactly, that. Bring out the C.J. Gardner-Johnson stuff, right? But I wanted them to do that because the Lions have a huge chip on their shoulder, and I think because they lost this weekend to the Packers, they don't have the luxury of assuming they're the better team. I think we all think or know they're the better team, but they can't just go in and assume it. I mean, once again, the Bears took it to the Lions until that weird non-timeout call last year, right? Like, that was not an easy game to win. No. Now, the game in Chicago, that was a little different story. The fumble bum game, that was that game was over in the second quarter. But yeah, so I think that. I think that's pretty much what we'll talk about regarding the game preview. Prior to score predictions, though, we are going to get into my Jake's lock of the game. Last week, this past Sunday, I did say that Amon-Ra St. Brown would score a touchdown. Lyle, did that happen?
Let me rewind here a little bit. No, it did not happen.
It did not. So Jake's lock of the game is 0-1 this year. However, going into week 2, and I am both very happy and very disappointed to see a play happen this past week, because I preset this lock of the game this past week, or a couple weeks ago into the preseason. We saw Isaac Tesla have 3 straight games of a touchdown catch.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We saw him make a 4th game with a touchdown catch, being week 1. The boy scores touchdowns. And even though I don't think he gets a lot of reps, I think the Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell, Isaac Tesla is a Dan Campbell kid. I say in front of his hometown crowd in Ford Field, I say they scheme. Now, I know if Ben Johnson was there, they'd find some crazy way to do it. But they're going to scheme a way to ensure that Isaac Tesla, one of the only bright spots in his 3 reps with the Detroit Lions this past Sunday, is going to score an anytime touchdown in Ford Field in the 3rd quarter. Now, don't bet 3rd quarter, but that's my prediction. That's Tyler Brown, friend of the show's secret eye prediction there. But Isaac Tesla anytime touchdown. It is not on ESPN Bet. However, being a wide receiver 4, the odds are going to be pretty good, so I'm definitely going to throw a couple bucks on that. And that is my lock of the game. They're going to get the hometown kid a touchdown in front of the hometown crowd. That is my lock of the game. Lyle, what do you think of that?
Hey, I like it. That would be I'd really see something blow the roof off of a place like Ford Field if that were to happen. Any lock of the week on what the celebration would be if you were to score that touchdown?
That's a great question. I think if I had to pick So because he scored his first career touchdown, right? He's got the ball. We saw, most of us have seen the clip, right, of Amon-Ra mic'd up. You know, he already has his ball. I would say he dives into the crowd. He's tall enough. He's got the vertical. He can get up there. I mean, I don't think he'll need like super strong woman that pulled up Jahmyr Gibbs a couple years ago. But I think he jumps into the crowd, celebrate with all of the Lions fans. Should not get any beer poured on him. You know, if anything, they won't want to let go of him because, right? But I think he's a cute kid with a good head of hair on his face or on his head. He's happy to be a Detroit Lion. He wore a Detroit Lions jersey to his top 30 visit. He's scoring a touchdown Sunday. It's going to happen. There's going to be a way, because once again, if this Bears defense is as hurt as they appear, they are going to have backup linebackers, including Penei Sewell's brother, who played a lot of that game. Yep, I think he started on Sunday or Monday. They're going to have backup linebackers on their tight ends. They're going to have backup corners and safeties on their wide receivers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you know, he has got a famous clip. I think it was in Green Bay where he's like, I haven't had 2 catches since I was a damn rookie or whatever, you know. So I know he's going to want the ball a lot more. I expect a lot from our running backs. You know, Montgomery likes playing big against the Packers, even though he didn't too much this past Sunday. But he loves playing big against the Bears, right, his former team. But I just have a feeling Tesla scores touchdowns, and, you know, once again, if it's in his vicinity, he's going to find a way to catch after that catch, man. Well, holy crap.
You know, Jake, I can see it in my mind, and it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. it is a beautiful sight, and, man, I will if it happens, I'm bringing champagne to next episode, and we're going to do a little short video. I'm gonna pop the champagne. Now, if we lose though, I don't know if I'll really want to do that. No, but
we don't drink sad champagne. You know, we don't celebrate individual celebrations over team victories for sure. But if everything falls into place, and we're going to get our predictions here, I think pretty soon. And see, you know, what we're thinking about for that, then I think that would be a wonderful thing to see, you know, have an opportunity for first Tesla to score in Ford Field, just like the old high school days and like he's done in the preseason already.
Back when he was a, what was it? Oh my God, what's this? I hate that formation.
Was it a wing
tee?
T?
Yeah, wing tee quarterback, a glorified running back. But damn, you know, he won a state championship there. He hasn't scored a touchdown there in a while, but he's going to do it again. He's going to do it Sunday in the third quarter. I'm calling it right now. But yeah, so we're going to move on to our score predictions. To wrap up the episode, we are going to go over our score predictions for the game. Obviously, last week I don't think any of us were even remotely close.
I had 4 touchdowns, and we just barely got one.
The only thing I will say is I did say the Packers would have 26 points. They did have 27 points. So I know that I have a margin of error for the opposing team by 1. So
it's their logo and their color scheme.
Yeah, it's a big white G, and they're called the Packers. Check out season predictions on Josh's old channel. There's a playlist. Check it out below. But yeah, so I think I started with Josh last time. Cousin Lyle, what score do you have for our first home game of the season against the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, I still see there being some things that are being worked through. I still see, you know, some issues on both sides of the ball for the Lions, but I do think that they have the support of the crowd. I do think that they have, you know, an opportunity to right this wrong. And we all know Dan Campbell doesn't lose 2 games in a row, guys. Mm-hmm. So I do think that this is going to be something where we don't have it perfect yet, but it's going to be an improvement. And we're going to see something where the Lions get out in front early, and they do kind of control it a little bit similar to what the Green Bay did against us here. I think there is probably a little bit of a comeback that we have to sweat out, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the Lions to win 27-21.
Okay. Josh.
I know earlier, you know, the more points versus runs deal, but I think I'm going to go a little bit conservative. I'm going to say 14-3. Lions in favor because of just Chicago's stingy defense, and you know that. I don't know, maybe the Bears are able to squeak out a touchdown, but I don't know. I think our pass rush will finally start doing
coming alive. Yeah.
I would be excited by a 14-3. Honestly, I'd be like, wow, that is a shutdown defense.
Yeah. Awesome. You can't even be mad. It's just like,
Yeah.
Ben Johnson, eat one.
Well, I was at a game, one of my first Lions game in person. Not the first, but one of the first. Literally, the only thing we got was field goals.
Yeah.
I think it was 4 field goals, and we won the game.
Yeah. A little 12-3 score right there.
Yeah, it was kind of sad, but
hey, a win's a win. Yeah, you know, it helps get you to a game that we don't talk about in February. You know what I mean? Every win helps. Yeah. So I do like the lower scoring kind of that you guys are taking an approach to. I'm gonna say 2017 Detroit. I don't know if Jake Bates necessarily hits a walk-off field goal. But I do think the offense, we'll see a little bit more from the offense, but I do expect us to stall out a little bit. I don't expect the Bears offense to really catch fire, but, you know, once again, it's going to really come down to, can we get a pass rush and can our defensive backs stay with Rome and DJ Moore? So a clean Lions sweep, as we did in our preseason predictions as well. So once again, go through the scores. Lyle?
27-21 Lions.
14-3 Lions.
And 20-17 Lions as well. So that was episode 2 of our 2025 season of Outside the Den, Inside the Barn. I'm Jake. That's Lyle. There's Josh over there. That was Brad on the phone. Unfortunately, no Steve's crazy play of the game. But, fellas, I'm optimistic going into this Week 2 matchup this Sunday. Lyle, sign us out.
Let's go Lions.
Go Lions. One pride. Go Lions. Everyone have a great week. We'll see you here next week. Not same time because we don't have a set schedule.
Yeah, but we also do have, hopefully, some in-person clips that we'll be able to put out there.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
All right, Josh, are you a DJ?
Am I a DJ?
Yeah, because I need you to spin that. And that's where you play the music. And, you know, so. Podcast over.
Signing off tonight.
OTDITB Nation. Everything's alright. Decided right tonight. Lions Nation, everything's alright.